Now, today's top stories and Power of 5 weather from News 5. Sponsored by Akron Children's Hospital.
Good Sunday morning, Northeast Ohio, on this first day of spring as we close out a winter where we saw the Ohio Redistricting Commission have map after map shot down by the Ohio Supreme Court, both congressional and legislative. The latest salvo coming this week when the state legislative maps were sent back to be redrawn for the third time. The one big difference, though, this time, there's progress. The 7 members actually meeting yesterday afternoon in Columbus. They have until March 28th to submit a new set of maps, with the Supreme Court recommending the hiring of an independent map maker. On Friday, Attorney General Dave Yost offered to bring in a bipartisan pair of map makers who recently crafted Virginia's legislative maps. All 7 members agreeing on a resolution late Saturday afternoon. It would allow their staffs to begin working together on new maps, something they did independently in the past, and they would do that while they work to hire 2 independent map makers who will oversee the process and a mediator who will handle disputes. They're hoping to have names by tonight. Finding qualified people to be recommended, though, in this short period may be tough.
I don't know that there's several thousand map drawers around that are unemployed right now looking for something to do, but there might be. And finding someone that collectively the co-chairs would agree on, or collectively the commission would agree on in the next 24 hours might not happen. If it does, we could meet.
The same holds true with finding a mediator. That meeting would be set for tonight at 7. If not, they'll deal with it tomorrow, 1 week before the final maps are due. The May 3rd primary came up briefly yesterday. So much, though, remains up in the air. What we do know for sure is the state legislative districts will not be part of the May 3rd primary ballot. It's now up to the legislature to decide whether or not to have a second primary in the summer or move the primary as a whole. Ohio lawmakers in Washington were busy this week in attendance for a moving speech by Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. In the joint session of Congress, Zelensky calling on them to remember Pearl Harbor, remember 9/11, and reminding them that the people of his country have been living their own personal 9/11 on a daily basis for nearly a month. He thanked the U.S. for aid, but called for more. Senator Rob Portman, who was in Poland meeting with refugees this time last week, said we owe it to Ukraine to provide them with the tools they need to defend themselves, reminding his colleagues it's not only the right thing to do, but it's what we actually promised to do after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and Ukraine ended up with the world's 3rd largest stockpile of nuclear weapons.
We also signed the Budapest memorandum back in 1994 that said we were going to protect them. They were asked to give up their nuclear weapons in exchange for guarantees of protection by the UK, by the United States of America, and by Russia. And here we are today. We didn't keep our end of the bargain. Certainly Russia didn't keep their end of the bargain.
Now, the situation in Ukraine, one of the contributing factors to higher inflation and uncertainty for our nation's manufacturers. The Producer Price Index was up 10% over last year. This week, a group of Ohio manufacturers met with the state treasurer in an effort to hash out possibly a way to ease the pain. In manufacturing, there are uncertainties built into business, headwinds, if you will. In 2022, though, manufacturers will tell you they're facing headwinds, sidewinds, flooding, and just about every other obstacle one can imagine.
It's the perfect storm that has happened.
Colin Cutts and his family own G&T Manufacturing in Mentor.
Whether it's the situation in Ukraine, it's a situation of the supply chain due to COVID-19. It's a situation of the workforce because of the shutdown from COVID-19.
Workforce, he said, is the #1 issue at this panel of local manufacturers meeting with Ohio Treasurer Robert Sprague. The demand for their products has the company eyeing expansion, but there's the issue of finding the workers to fill the jobs, plus the cost of building to expand just skyrocketed.
We were looking at a building that was about $1.5 million to $2 million. And that has now expanded out to a $4.5–5 million project.
The meeting was at Cleveland's Juergens Manufacturing, where demand for their products also is at an all-time high, creating the biggest backlog of orders they've seen in 80 years.
But the problem is the supply chain is so broken, we can't get the computer chips to build our screwdrivers. Our next gen screwdriver has been slowed down out there. Our steel prices are going through the roof.
On some orders, he said, that we're facing a 52-week delay. They're now telling customers it will be 102 weeks.
The reality is that a lot of these small manufacturers are in a pressure cooker right now.
State Treasurer Robert Sprague said the hope here this day is by talking it out, spitballing ideas, they might find a way to ease some of that pressure.
Look, that's what we put on the table. Is we said, how can we help? We have a $20 billion balance sheet in the Treasury. If you can think of ways that the state treasury can help in some way, the manufacturing community, we want to be there to help as much as we can.
What they want most, Colin Cutt said, is something that no one can give. Assurances of smooth sailing ahead.
The world isn't exactly cooperating to give us that warm, fuzzy feeling anymore that we're not going to go off the edge anymore.
And as much as we may want to put COVID in the rearview mirror, it is still forcing shutdowns in China, which is in turn impacting those supply chains. With Democracy 2022, I'm John Kasich. Enjoy your Sunday.
It has been very soggy to start off your weekend, but as we move into the second half of Sunday, we're going to start to see drier weather. You can already see it basically along the western half of the Buckeye State as we near about mid-morning. We're starting to see those showers pull away, and we're going to continue to see that happen as we move throughout the rest of the morning and early afternoon. I think we're all dry by about 2 p.m., and we'll still have some breezy winds, but those will be backing off. Where the clouds and rain linger the longest, temperatures likely getting stuck into about the middle 40s, comparatively to about the lower and middle 50s elsewhere, where it starts to clear out faster. So I do have 50 degrees for downtown Cleveland, 37 for tonight. Foggy spots are possible, and tomorrow there's going to be a huge range in temperatures due to a front positioned right on top of us. More rain by the middle of the week.
Sponsored by Akron Children's Hospital.